Eli woke up earlier than usual. Putting on a shabby jacket, he left the house and walked toward the stable where his horses were dozing. He pushed the door open and it creaked open as if it were trying to tell him something. It was dark and warm inside. The horses were stomping, snorting. Eli walked over to the haystack, picked up a pitchfork, but suddenly froze. And he saw eyes. Big, human eyes. Childlike. And then a second look. Another set of eyes. Two babies. In diapers. One crying, the other just looking at him, as if he already knew who he was. Eli stood there, not believing himself. But after a second, he picked them up. And subscribe and tell us in the comments where you're watching this video from. Eli Johnson had fed his horses every morning for the past 20 years, and not once had the hay ever moved on its own. This morning, it did. The old wooden barn creaked as he pushed the door open, letting in a sliver of dawn light. His boots crunched on the dry ground as he moved toward the haystack. His horses snorted, restless. The air smelled of earth, wood, and something else, something out of place. He lifted the pitchfork, ready to toss the morning feed, when he heard it. A tiny sound. Not a neigh. Not a rat. A whimper. He frowned, leaned in. The hay shifted, again. He dropped the pitchfork. His heart thudded, sharp and confused. Hands trembling, he pulled the hay apart. Eyes. One pair. Then another. Two babies. Wrapped in nothing but diapers and faded hospital blankets. One cried. The other stared at him like it recognized him. Eli stepped back, breath caught in his throat. No footprints. No car tracks. No note. Just two newborns in his barn. And somehow, he knew. Whatever life he had before this morning, it was over. Eli brought them into the house wrapped in his old army coat, the soft kind that smelled of smoke and memories. The floorboards creaked under his boots as he laid them gently on the couch. They were quiet now. Too quiet. He stood there for a full minute, staring. "What the hell am I supposed to do with you?" he whispered. The boy had a faint birthmark on his forehead, shaped almost like a crescent moon. The girl's eyes followed Eli's every move, unblinking. She didn't cry. She didn't even flinch when his hand brushed her tiny fingers. That's when the phone rang. Eli jumped. He picked it up, trying to steady his voice. "Hello?" "Nothing. Just static." And then, breathing. Not his. Someone else's. Long, steady breaths. Then a whisper. "You found them." Eli slammed the phone down so hard the receiver cracked. His hands were shaking. "What the hell is this?" He rushed back to the living room, but the babies were gone. Gone. Just the army coat lay folded on the couch, neatly. Like no one had ever touched it. Like they had never been there at all. And then, a knock on the door. 3 slow knocks. Eli stared at the door. The knocks were slow, deliberate, like whoever was on the other side wanted him to hesitate. He reached for the shotgun above the fireplace, hands still unsteady, and edged toward the front door. Another knock. He swung it open, and froze. A woman stood there. Drenched in rain that wasn't falling. Her yellow raincoat clung to her like second skin, and her dark hair stuck to her cheeks. But her face didn't match the weather. Bone dry. Calm. Not a single raindrop on her skin. She held out a baby. One of the twins. The girl. Wrapped in the same blanket. Eyes wide open. Before Eli could speak, the woman stepped past him, into the house like she'd been there 1,000 times. She placed the baby gently back onto the couch and looked at Eli with eyes that didn't blink. "You don't understand what you've done," she said softly. "They weren't supposed to be found yet." Eli gripped the shotgun tighter. "Where's the other one?" The woman tilted her head. "Safe. For now." "What are they?" Eli asked. Not who. What? Because deep down, he knew these weren't ordinary children. She smiled. Not kindly. They're not from here, Mr. Johnson. And they're not yours. But now, they're bound to you. Lightning flashed outside. The woman turned toward the window. You have 3 days. After that, everything changes. Then, she was gone. Not through the door. Just, gone. And the baby on the couch started to glow. Eli didn't move. Didn't breathe. The baby on the couch glowed with a soft, golden pulse, not like a light bulb, but like her skin held a sunrise inside it. She didn't cry. She just looked at him. Then blinked. And the glow vanished. Eli staggered back, nearly tripping over his boots. The shotgun slipped from his hand and clattered to the floor. His old dog Red, who'd been hiding under the table since the woman arrived, whimpered. I ain't high, Eli muttered to himself. I ain't drank. I ain't sleep deprived. This is real. This is real. He reached out slowly, as if the baby might burn him. She didn't. Her skin was soft, warm. Normal. Her breathing, steady. 3 days, he whispered. 3 days until what? A sudden thud echoed from the barn. Eli turned, heart in his throat. He left the baby wrapped tight on the couch and grabbed the flashlight. As he stepped outside, the air felt off, like the land itself was holding its breath. He opened the barn door. Inside, the hay was scattered again. Something had come back. But it wasn't the boy. It was a symbol, carved deep into the wood. Still fresh. Still dripping. A spiral with 3 marks in the center. Like a countdown. And below it, scrawled in the hay, as if by invisible hands. Day 1. The sun rose angry. A deep, copper red that bled through the sky and set the mist over the fields on fire. Eli stood on his porch with a mug of black coffee that had long gone cold. He hadn't slept. Couldn't. Every creak in the floor, every breath the baby girl took on the couch made him feel like the world was unraveling, thread by thread. She was still there. Peaceful. Wrapped up tight in a blanket, her tiny chest rising and falling like nothing had happened. But the boy was gone. Eli had torn through the barn twice. Checked the tool shed. Searched the edge of the woods. No footprints. No trail. Nothing but that damn symbol carved into the barn wall, the spiral with 3 marks in the center. He swore it was pulsing now, like it had a heartbeat of its own. Red, his old hound, refused to go near it. Eli sat on the porch, rubbing his face, trying to piece together thoughts that refused to line up. This ain't normal, he muttered. This ain't real. And that's when he saw him. Out by the cornfield. A tiny figure, barefoot, walking between the tall stalks with slow, deliberate steps. Eli dropped the mug. It shattered. He jumped off the porch and ran, heart pounding. The boy stepped out of the corn like it was nothing. Calm. Not a scratch on him. He couldn't have been more than a day old, but now, he stood, steady, with legs too sure for a newborn. Hair a little thicker. Eyes wide. Not afraid. Eli dropped to his knees. The boy walked right up and reached out, and wrapped his small hand around Eli's finger. A jolt shot through him, but not pain, warmth. Familiarity. The boy smiled. Eli's eyes stung. He picked him up, held him close, and whispered, "Where'd you go, little man?" The boy rested his head on Eli's shoulder. And in that moment, Eli didn't care where they came from. Didn't care about glowing skin, strange symbols, or women in yellow raincoats. These kids, his kids, now, were safe. And he'd keep it that way. But that night, as he sat with them both in his arms by the fireplace, the phone rang again. He let it ring. 5 times. 6. Then silence. And from the quiet, a whisper curled into his ear, not through the phone, but inside his head. The mother is coming. The wind shifted on the third night. Not just the usual country breeze, this was colder, stranger. It came from no direction, and every time it touched Eli's skin, it made his bones tighten. The kids were growing too fast. The boy, who just 2 days ago fit in the crook of Eli's arm, now stood to his waist. He ran barefoot through the hallway, chasing shadows and laughing with a voice that echoed like it belonged in a cathedral. The girl, quieter but sharper, watched the fire with knowing eyes, her gaze so intense that Eli once had to look away. He tried to ignore it. Tried to believe this was just some miracle. Some unexplained gift. He gave them names. The boy, Micah. The girl, June. He didn't care that they hadn't come from him. They were his. Every smile. Every step. Every hug. They were stitching themselves into the seams of his life. And for the first time in years, his house felt alive again. That evening, he made soup from scratch. Set out 3 bowls. Micah spilled his all over the table. June laughed, a real laugh. Not eerie. Not magical. Just a little girl laughing at her clumsy brother. Eli laughed too. And for a moment it was just a regular evening. A man and his kids and the smell of garlic and carrots in the air. Until the lights flickered. June looked up first. Then Micah stopped chewing. The fire went out, not slowly, not naturally. Like someone took it. Then, a voice. Not a whisper this time. Louder. Closer. Almost tender. They were never yours to keep. Eli stood. You want to come in this house, you better show your face. Silence. Then, a knock. 3 sharp raps at the back door. Micah moved to stand beside Eli. June climbed into his arms. The knock came again. Eli opened the door. No one there. Just a small, folded piece of parchment on the ground. Old. Torn. He picked it up, hands trembling, and read. When the moon turns full, the mother will return. Do not fight. They will remember. He looked up. The clouds were parting. The moon, full. Bright. Unblinking. Watching. The moon hung high over the fields, full and pale, casting silver across the land like spilled milk. Eli sat on the porch with Micah and June tucked into either side of him, wrapped in a thick wool blanket. They said nothing. They didn't have to. They felt it. Something was coming. Y'all ain't gotta be afraid, Eli whispered, arms around them both. Ain't nobody taking you without going through me first. Micah looked up. She's not bad. Eli blinked. Who? The woman, June said softly. Our mother. Eli's chest tightened. You, remember her? June nodded. Only a little. But we know what she feels like. Warm. Like you. Just, different. Eli turned his eyes to the horizon, where a low mist began to roll across the pasture, glowing faintly beneath the moonlight. It moved with purpose. And then, like something walked through it, the fog split in the center. She stepped out. The same woman. Yellow raincoat. Dark hair, flowing now, like it moved underwater. No shoes. No sound. No shadow. Micah stood up first. Eli reached out, but the boy didn't flinch. June followed. Quietly. Almost peacefully. They didn't run. They didn't cry. Eli stood. His throat burned. The woman stopped at the gate. She looked at Eli, and this time, there was something different in her face. Not cold. Not powerful. Sad. "I'm sorry," she said. "You were never meant to see them. But they chose you. And you gave them something I couldn't." Eli swallowed hard. "You talking them for good?" She paused. Looked down at the kids, both holding each of his hands. "They're yours as much as mine now," she said. "But they have to go. It's not a punishment. It's who they are." Micah looked up at Eli. "Can we come back?" Eli's voice cracked. "You better." June reached into her little pocket, a strange thing for a kid that never wore real clothes until yesterday, and pulled out a small, carved wooden horse. "I made this," she said. "So you don't forget." Eli took it, tears slipping down his weather-worn cheeks. "I could never forget y'all." They hugged him. Tight. Longer than any goodbye he'd ever known. And then, hand in hand with the woman, they walked into the fog. The light swallowed them whole. And they were gone. The seasons rolled over Eli's farm like pages in an old book. He kept the place running, feeding the horses, fixing fences, tending to the quiet. But something had changed. The barn stayed locked now. Not out of fear, out of memory. Some days, when the wind blew just right, he swore he could still hear June's laughter drifting through the corn. Or Micah's footsteps running across the porch. But he never chased those sounds. He just smiled. Sat with them. Let them be. The wooden horse sat on the mantel. Dust never touched it. One morning, it was early spring, Eli stood outside sipping coffee, the smell of rain still clinging to the dirt. The sun was rising slow, golden. The kind of morning that made your bones ache in a good way. Then he saw it. Two figures at the end of the driveway. Tall. Older. The boy was taller now, all legs and sharp shoulders. His hair fell into his eyes, but the smile was the same. The girl walked beside him, graceful, calm. Her eyes still carried that stormy depth, but her face broke into the gentlest smile when she saw him. They said nothing at first. Eli didn't move. Then Micah shouted, "You still make that nasty soup." Eli laughed, real, from the gut, the kind he hadn't let out in years. "I might have gotten better." June ran to him. He caught her in his arms. Not a little girl anymore, but in that hug, she was. Micah followed. No awkwardness. No distance. Just family. They stayed the day. Ate. Talked. Walked the fields like they used to. They didn't say where they'd been. He didn't ask. As the sun dipped low, they stood again at the edge of the drive. June touched his hand. "We can't stay long." "I know," Eli said. "Just, promise me it won't be the last time." Micah grinned. Not even close. They started to walk away, fading back into that same mist that had carried them away years ago. June turned back once more and said, "We still remember." Eli stood there long after they were gone. He didn't cry this time. He just looked up at the sky, tipped his hat, and whispered, "I still do too."